Welcome, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Facebook Live. It is the 28th of December, year 2022. So our very last Facebook Live Q&A for this year. So wishing everybody a happy new year, wishing everybody unlimited abundance in prosperity, joy, and love for the new year 2023. And let's get started. Let's get introduced to the panel. Today we have April, who is a psychic, has quite a few modalities of healing under her: Reiki, massage therapy, Amadeus healing, quite a long list. So good evening, April. She's been a regular member of our Facebook Live Q&A panel. And then we have Patricia here, who is part of our core group of meditators, as well as Ken. Good evening, Ken. And then we have the honor of Bob joining us. Bob has been a long-term Eckhart Tolle follower. He had been leading the Vancouver group. I don't even know what the term Eckhart's teachings calls it. He was the leader for Eckhart in the Vancouver area. And then he has written his own book, and I will let him speak about himself a little while later. We'll get started on the question that I have. The question here, April, is how can one get rid of worries about their health, anxieties like they build up so deeply inside, and create a space inside head and body? I know all we have is now and future, but also come as now, but the now seems to be so troublesome by this tape going in my head, like the false feels real and dreadsome. How can one get rid of this pattern? There's some wrong English in there, so I'm trying to correct it while I'm reading it, but I'll put it in the chat as well. Thank you.
Okay. So my first thought is I think we have talked about this kind of thing before. This anxiety, the mind is an amazing mechanism, has the ability to think constantly. One of my favorite kind of lines from Michael Singer's book, The Untethered Soul, is where he says, did you ever notice that your mind never shuts up? And I just kind of had to laugh, because it was the way he puts things in a way that you think, why did I not think of that? Or how did he put this in words that just make so much sense? So your mind's job is to take information. Your brain's job is to take information in from the outside environment, which is basically means it takes in energy from the outside environment and it turns it into thoughts. That is your brain's job. It is doing its job. So they say that we have anywhere from 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, and they're primarily negative. 90% are negative. So the brain is just automatically thinking, doing its job, but then these thoughts tend to be negative, and then we get stuck in this pattern of worry. And this person sounds like they're in a pattern of worry. So they're aware that we only have now and future, but what they're not doing is they're not actually in the now. They're not actually in the present, because if they were in the present, they wouldn't be consumed by this tape going on in the head, right? They would actually have that peace, that space. So the first thing that I normally teach people, so I'll just go with my avenue and then everybody else can expand. The first thing that I normally teach people is to become aware of the thoughts, to become aware that you are thinking and what you are thinking. And then once you can notice that you're thinking, you notice it's negative. And then you can either stop the thought, which, as Eckhart says, the mind is going to tell you that this is so important that we have to think about it. So it's going to fight you. And there's going to be this battle inside your own head that you must think this thought. Or you can change the thought. Now, because it's a habit and it's become your way of being, you're unconsciously doing this. Within a matter of a few minutes, you're going to be back to thinking the same thing, and you're going to have to stop the thought process again. That's normally where I start with people. The other thing is we have to remember that almost all of these teachers teach us your mind does not know the difference between real and fake. Your body and your mind does not know the difference. That's especially Joe Dispenza teaches. It doesn't know the difference between real and fake. So if you're going to think I'm sick, I'm dying, I have this disease, I'm never going to get better, that's exactly how you're going to feel. Not only is that how you're going to feel, but you will also manifest more of the same, because you're releasing the negative chemicals in the body, which is then releasing more illness. So I would start with becoming aware of the thoughts, with stopping those thoughts. And also, we have to really remember the brain is a thinking mechanism. That's what the brain does. But that doesn't mean every thought is one, real, and two, that doesn't mean every thought is important. So that's usually where I start with people.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much, April. That was incredible what you shared, that there is a tape in our head, and that Michael Singer says that we don't even realize, right? That there's a roommate in our head. And I also love the pointer where you said that if they're in past and future, then they are not in the present. They're not at peace. And that is what is generating, because they're in past, future, past, future, past, future. And it may be a conditioning, since I absolutely love talking about limiting beliefs. There is some generational pattern of sickness in their family, right? The fear did not come. Yeah, the fear may have arisen from some fear of a past lifetime. So maybe part of their soul contract that they have a fear. Maybe they were sick in a past lifetime quite a few times, and that's why that fear exists. But their job this time is to recondition their body to recognize that, hey, that is what limiting belief arises, right, April?
Yeah. So one of the things that I took most from like Joe Dispenza was that the brain has neuroplasticity, which means the brain can be changed. So this pattern of noticing what you're thinking, stepping outside of yourself, becoming aware of your thoughts, stopping those thoughts, and doing that repetitively over and over and over, it breaks that pattern. So it rewires the brain. So eventually what you will find is you won't have those thoughts anymore. You won't have that pattern of, oh, I'm so sick, I'm going to die, I must have cancer. You won't do that anymore. But it does take effort, and that's where the hard part is it takes effort, and it takes truly becoming aware of your thoughts. Like every thought you're thinking, to become aware of, okay, what am I thinking? And if after time, you won't have to keep doing that. So I don't want you to think, oh, I got to do that, and then now I'm going to be stressed about what I'm thinking. No, you won't. You will literally change your thinking pattern, and then you will have more peace.
And it's more like it's not so much as we only notice that we are, what we do is we bring down the circuits, like lower the volume of thoughts that are saying, oh, you're not good enough, oh, you're not you're a loser. Your mother may have said, like my mom said, you don't photograph well or you don't sing well, right? Our mothers and fathers are perfect people that teach us all these programming, right? That we have conditioned. So what he teaches is what we have is we make the dominant intention and emotional feelings, because the thoughts sends the signal out and the emotional field draws the experience, right? So our emotional field that we intensify is, I'm empowered, I'm an unlimited genius. Like he calls us all the people that join his advanced class, he calls them geniuses. The moment he walks in, he says, turn to the person next to you and say, you're a genius, right? And then he addresses us as, hey, good morning, geniuses. And every session there's a programming that goes on, right? That you're an unlimited genius. So then the dominant thought and the emotional field or the experience that we're going to draw is that of being an unlimited genius, right? Because we're getting programmed over and over again. I was writing to Francesca. Francesca was saying something on Facebook today about something about her body. And I was saying what we do is we recondition the body, the environment, and the time. Like he always, if you listen to his meditations, he always says, you're in a whole new body, you're in a whole new environment, and in a whole new time. It's a whole new body, in a whole new environment, in a whole new time. And he says it with different words. He may say it with different words, but what I feel programmatically, he's putting it in our operating system that we are no longer that body that is going to get sick. That invincibility arises in us, right? We're no longer that program that our environment was sickly, that we will become sickly. I'm going to determine what my environment is, right? So I feel that is what happens in the neural pruning. What we make dominant is the positive, what somebody would call positive intention or positive intent, right? And that's what his programming is about.
Absolutely. And the more that you do that, the more it sticks and you become that new person.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it's also adding a little bit of logic in here. Like, I've said before, when I used to drive home from work, I would hit a certain spot on my road, and it would be just before I could see my house, and my mind would start. And is there a fire truck at my house? Are there police there? Is there anything wrong with the kids? Did my house burn down? And doing this work was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So I was like, stop, just stop that. You are fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. And every day I would say, okay, we're not going to do this today. We're going to breathe. We're going to be okay. And I would get to my driveway. There is not a single police car. There's not a single ambulance. It's fake. But the feeling was as if there was a police car there, right? So it takes work. You can do it, and it will create change, and those feelings will stop.
Beautiful. Incredibly amazing. Thank you so much, April. Always grateful for your wisdom. Ken, you've been nodding your head a lot. Did you want to share something before I go to Bob?
Yes, I feel like I'm bobbing away here, like I'm going fishing, and the fish has got me going under the water. Yes, I just loved what April was saying, and just what you were saying, and I'm like, and it's funny, I was just before I got on, I was reading some things through a 12-step program about surrendering, and realizing that the two energies, one is fear and one is love, one is unconscious and the other is conscious, and just realizing, depending on how we want to word it, that we have two languages going on inside of us. And sometimes we have a tug of war with them. And more realizing which one's going to win. And it will depend on which one we're feeding. And kind of like what April was just saying about she's driving and all of a sudden she had a thought and she's thinking, okay, my house is going to burn down or this or that. And just the idea, these thoughts can come in our head like all of us, like a whim. And realizing that's, to me, that's the pain body. And realizing that depending on who we are around energetically, and there's going to be certain people or certain situations that are going to trigger those different parts of us, the pain body. And I love what April was saying, and just the idea, if we're going through the pain or we're going through the fear, we're going through the inner chatter, is all we're going to do is recycle old garbage. And we're going to keep going over it and over and over it. We're going to keep spinning. And until we say, I don't want this anymore, or until the pain gets so great. And then April mentioned awareness. And that right there is the first step for change. And for myself, praying, meditating, being with like-minded people. And when I pray and meditate, I need at that point, just follow my intuition and just pay attention, because from that point on, messages will be being brought to me through a book, through, it could be a license plate. It can be someone will come into your life. I could go to the store. It doesn't matter. All of a sudden, something will happen that will divert me to what I need if I want to correct my position on where I am. And that there is with God, higher power, the source, and then coming to the group. I'm realizing that we're in flow. I'm in alignment to this energy field, and so is everyone here. So it's helping me to realize that everything happens for a reason. And if I need to go deeper into pain and punishment or into the womb, then my thinking will bring me there. And if I want to change it, I got to change my thinking. So it's programming. It's like, what station do I want to listen to? And realizing that that's all inside of me. And it's just so incredible how fast I can shift my way of being. And then realizing also that my inner being will it's there to direct me to what I need. And that there is connected to the source. That there is my higher level of consciousness that lives inside of me. So it's just amazing. Just be aware. Just be aware. And sometimes the same energy field, if I'm going through something and I'm actually in the pain, I'm in the uncomfortability, that's what it's bringing me to. So I'm learning to actually hold myself, and I'm calling that the shadow. I need to hold myself in that uncomfortability and then realize it's almost like, in layman's terms, it's part of the storm. Let it pass. Don't fight it. Don't resist it. It has something to reveal. And it's magical. And or if you're having a day where things are, just go to bed. Or just say, I'm just not going to do too much of anything today. Just let it pass. And the next morning, all of a sudden, you'll be directed to what you need. So that's by letting go. But if I try to think, I try to coerce it, I try to push it, all I'm going to do is, that's my will. Let it go. Just allow that vibration or that feeling to come through. And that's where the miracle happens. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ken. That was amazing. I love the whole concept of surrender, right?
Yes,
Acceptance of what is. So
exactly. Exactly. I'm not in control of it.
thank you so much for that lesson. Grateful for it.
Thank you.
So I'll move to Bob. Bob, if you want to give a little bit of a background of who you are, and the question is perfect for what I know you wanted to talk about your story of your experience and the experience of the past few years. So, and one of them was experience around health, and this question is perfect. So if you want to use this question, it's perfectly tailored to segue into you introducing your life and what your experiences have been the past few years. Thank you. Grateful
Thank you,
for it.
Puna. Thank you. At first, everybody can hear me all right, because sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. So it's very wonderful to be with all of you. It's a privilege and an honor to be with all of you, sharing the spiritual experiences that each one of us share and expand, and from our own hearts and from our own compassion. And there's so much I can say about this that'll go on for days. I limit this down to the timing that we have. And I really appreciated and enjoyed the messages I was hearing from each one of you. I remember those books as well from April, from The Untethered Soul. That was a beautiful book. So yes, thank you for having me on here. And what I generally share is, like, because I've connected and been a person who talked about different areas of what is enlightenment and what is meditation, what is, because there are words and people are not quite connected with deeper messages. They could be at the surface level, but then when it starts to go deeper, it sometimes becomes confusing. So with that, in my story, when I went through a massive brain tumor, I'm based in Vancouver, Canada. And so when I had this massive brain tumor, it was one of the largest brain tumors that the doctor had received. I wasn't supposed to survive there. And then after that, I was a survivor of cancer, level 3. That also was a big surprise for everybody, a big surprise for me too. And I went 50% blind, if not more. So that's the story of me in a nutshell. So what that led through is I was doing spirituality at the beginning, but I went from a happiness spirituality into a depressing spirituality because I was spiraling down. So I was no longer a happiness individual. I was like I was going downhill. And then anger was coming in. And how come this is happening? I'm healing people. I'm helping people. But I think one of us was talking about, just seeing it for what it is and letting go. And all those messages that come through, for me, took a bit of grounding to come back into what the present moment was, or what the heart was telling me to do. And it was not easy, even though I had all these books and experiences and whatnot. I was given the ultimate test, really. And that's what I've been sharing with people. I really shouldn't have even been in an apartment, and my brain was expected not to be operating at this point in time because of the surgery and everything like that. But because it had, the message is really to share as much as possible to others at whatever level they are. And one of the messages I tend to share, and sometimes it's disturbing, but in a way it's very rewarding depending on how you look at it. So in a nutshell, it's about being at a point of no body, no mind, and being at a point of zero, absolute zeroness, and having people rest with that. And I really relate with that with myself, because my brain, after the whole surgery process, was not able to operate in the same way. It's very similar. I guess some of you may have heard Jill Bolte Taylor, who went through a major brain experience, and she was actually, ironically, a cancer survivor, but she was also a I can't, one of you may remember what her exact title was, but she was a head doctor and all that. And for her to go through the whole process herself was a story in itself. Anyway, this is somewhat similar to the story, maybe somewhat, not entirely, but similar to what I went through. And then, except this has been a continuum for this lifetime. So the zero factor is really helpful sometimes because it's simple, because it's zero. Just come back to zero. Everything that people talk about, as beautiful as it is, if you come back into the zero, what's left? Nothing. And what's nothing? And it goes into a self-investigation. Well, then the ego will come up and say, well, what am I going to do with nothing? That's a waste of time. Coming back into zero again, because it's the ego starting up again. So it's going back and forth. So once an individual, I found, starts to go into that zero factor for just a little bit, they start to feel a little bit of enjoyment or joy, which doesn't make sense at first, because how would something in a zero would bring up so much happiness? So that's one of many ways I talk about things and connect with people. Things that people have probably not heard about before or heard about a little bit. And then it becomes an interesting dialogue, because when an individual is at a zero factor, well, tomorrow a family member of ours may not make it. It's terrible, but at the same time, and there's a space there that no matter what happens on this journey, we realize we're not the body nor the mind on that level, but something higher than that, something that's tangible inwardly, coming from the heart, that can be revealed inwardly. And that's kind of a position where I come from a lot of times with people and individuals who go through depression, anxiety, all kinds of things like that. So that's my introduction.
Incredibly amazing. Thank you so much, Bob.
Thank
Eternally grateful to you for, going through such a challenging life situation. It's profoundly humbling that you've gone through like that level of distress and then come on the other side. The other thing I know is you actually published a book about your experience, right? And you have a website. So if you want to talk about that.
Yes, the book was Pure Happiness, Your Guide to Inner Freedom. And it was published. It took many, many years prior to that. And the book kind of got stopped near the end because I went through the surgery myself. But at the end, it was completed. So the website is all one word, youarepurehappiness.com. So that's the website. There's going to be tweaks to that because I'm no website designer or anything like that, but it's something that people can kind of look into to get a little bit of an idea as to what the sharing is. So thank you for allowing me to share that.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much. We are here to support you.
Thank you.
So when I look at the question that the questioner asked that I put in the chat, right, that they said, how can one get rid of worries about their health anxieties, like they build up so deeply inside and create a space inside head and body, and that it's so troublesome. There's a tape going in my head, like the false feels real and dreadsome. So if you were to talk to a person in that state of mind and say, hey, you need to get to 0 point, right? They're going to go, what? What do you mean 0 point? So now I want you to walk us through, how would you walk that person through? How do you get to 0 point? How do you get to that nobody or nothing? Thank you.
Okay, and would you like me to answer that? As that was the idea, or someone would give it a shot?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, this 0 point, what some of you might be familiar with, is very in alignment with stillness, which Eckhart Tolle talks about as well. So the 0 point is in many ways similar to if you're not looking into the future and you're not looking into the past, what's left. And people practice this a number of times. But of course, as we know, the dynamics with the world we live in and all the noise that's going on, it's not as easy to come back into a so-called reality. So the 0 factor is to do with just, oh, now I could see myself. It's similar to, I think, April was mentioning, just coming right back into that present moment where the noise is no longer as bothersome. The voice in the head is no longer as bothersome. It's another way of looking at that, but sometimes people get look at it perhaps in a different way when we share it in a 0 factor, where someone is thinking, okay, I'm in a 0 factor. I'm in the present moment. This feels really good. And then very similar to Eckhart Tolle, it's like, this feels really good. And then something will come in, right? Or thoughts will happen and people start to lose track of their own minds, right? The 0 factor is very similar to that. There's some differences to it in a sense that it's more impactful or frightening, depending which way you're looking at, because people are going, I really don't want to go into that 0 factor because then I'll be a 0, right? I go, that's okay. Are you ready to become a 0? Well, I still got family, and I like the enlightenment stage, if there is such a thing, or all kinds of questions come up, but they don't want to lose themselves, as someone else mentioned here, lose yourself, right? So this is kind of like a dropping in without losing yourself, and just renaming it, going into 0, the frame of 0, no future, no past, looking at it from that vantage point and feeling what that feels like. And this aligns nicely, I think, with what we were talking about with Joe Dispenza, with just when you're feeling something, what does that feel like? In spirituality, there's some similarities where that feeling, oh, now I have a chance to experience that feeling, but not as me feeling that experience, going, ow, ow, I hurt, this shouldn't be happening to me. It's more of a feeling, oh, there it comes again. This feeling is happening. It's an opportunity to look at that, to say, well, that feeling is coming, but I don't have to be a part of that. I can sense it and notice it. And most people find that already that relieves maybe 90% of the pain or suffering or what have you. So that's another way to look at that. It's also ties in with the 0 factor. So they all kind of come in together.
Beautiful. Incredible. Thank you so much, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you. April, were you about to say something about it?
I'm just listening. The 0 point, it's an interesting concept. It is similar. It reminded me of the no thing. That's what it reminded me of. No future, no past, no thing. That the Joe Dispenza talks about, Eckhart talks about, in this space of peace, which if you're troubled by all these thoughts, which many people are, it kind of amazes me almost on a daily basis, how many people are still really, really bothered by all their thoughts. Thoughts consume people. That's still a huge problem. And a lot of times I still feel like we are kind of at step 1 where like many people out there, don't realize that you can control your thoughts. There's something that can be controlled instead of your brain controlling you. They feel like they are their thoughts. They feel like their thoughts consume them. They take them over. They can't control them. They can't sleep. They can't focus. So the first thing I would want people to remember or to realize is you can control them. You are not victim to them. That's kind of the first step, and gives you that. Just saying that to people, they just kind of look at me like, what? So they don't have that realization. So to me, that's an important first step too.
I think that's incredible. That's an incredible pointer, April. What I feel is what happens with most human beings is they are so afraid of going in the gap between two thoughts, right? Because where am I going to now touch my pain? So what happens is I feel the ego just keeps one thought after the other, like consecutive. There's no gap. Like it's like Eckhart points, right? It's thought, and there's no gap.
Mhm.
And they continue
Yeah.
on thought, like there's no gap. It's only when we have some gaps in between. So I feel that that person, and I've seen people do that, like they'll be thinking about, they're at work, but they're worrying about their daughter, or they're worrying about their mother, or they're worrying about their mother-in-law, they're worrying about their brother, or whatever it may be, right? A son, daughter, grandchildren, whatever it may be, right? There's a plethora of relationships that you can keep, or they'll be thinking about their exes, ex-husband, ex-boyfriend, ex whatever, right? So I feel like they don't want to feel the feeling. So it almost is, the first pointer is, it's okay to create the gap.
Mhm. And that's a very interesting point, because that's a topic that I've had a couple times this week. And again, I usually find a theme, people running from their emotions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Beautiful.
I say this, and then they look at me like it's just this kind of like realization look. And I said, you running from your emotions is like you trying to run from your hand. It's attached. Where are you going? You can't, it's like running without your feet. They go with you. They're in you. And they just look at me, and I'm like, but they're inside of you. We
Mhm,
can't run from them.
mhm.
We have to learn to be with them. And I do think that that is one of the reasons for the obsessive thinking, is we don't want to think. We don't, but then or feel, but the thing is then we're consumed by thinking and
thinking.
feeling.
Mhm,
So it doesn't work.
mhm.
But yeah, we are really afraid of our feelings as humans. So I think creating this space, or this 0 point, is huge, and learning to be okay with that, and learning to be okay with just a space of nothingness. I'm okay with that. When you mentioned that, Poonam, I remember when I heard Eckhart first say this, and I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to be present. I'm supposed to be present while I'm brushing my teeth. Okay, really? So I get the toothbrush and I get the toothpaste, and I'm going to be present with my toothbrush. And what I found was I was like bored. I was bored.
The ego comes in and says, this is boring. Yes.
I'm like,
The
that
ego is
this is,
starting a
I'm
tape.
supposed to enjoy, like,
Mhm.
really? Like, what is happening here? And I'm like, okay, stop. So I find too that we're just not okay with that slowness, with that peacefulness, with, so it's a training. I had to train myself.
Mhm.
So that was a thought that came up when you said that. This is all definitely takes practice.
And I know, Parker, the person that actually started this Facebook Live Q&A with me, she trained herself she was Eckhart's follower, and she trained herself to do just one thing at a time. So if you distracted her, right, like if she's cutting vegetables, she will just focus on that. You cannot distract her and talk about, let's make coffee. You know how we want to do 3 things at the same time, right? We are putting the coffee on the coffee. If you have one of those percolator kind of coffee, we are adding coffee, we're getting water, we're washing the dishes, we are doing this. No, it's like one thing at a time. Oh, by the way, even while talking, so like if I was on the phone with her, right? And I said, okay, I can just take the clothes out of the washer and put them in the dryer. She would just say, I'll call you back when you're free. Like she wanted me to give her like 100% attention, because then I was distracted, right? I was putting, but it's such a mundane task, and it takes 2 minutes that you can do it while you're listening to somebody for 2 minutes. You can take clothes, but even that, she would say, no, I'll call you back. And I would say, okay, wait, I'll just continue to talk to you. I'll wait for my washer thing or I'll make her call me back, or I'll say, wait for 2 minutes, let me do this, and then we can talk. But yeah, she was very particular about do one thing at a time. So that's a great pointer that you talk about with the toothbrush thing. They do one thing at a time. Like when you're doing the celery, I keep telling Patricia, right? You're washing the celery, wash the celery, like feel the celery, like put the veggie wash over it and wash it and scrub it. Like you're feeling the sensation of scrubbing it and feeling the water falling on it. When we get into that level of presence, then that gap is created, right? We are no longer like just thought after thought after thought. So I think that's the beginning to the 0 point, is we need to create the gap, because if you talk to somebody who continuously has thought activity, they're not even going to say 0 point. What do you mean 0 point? I can't even stop all the tape that is running in my head, right? So you were going to say something, Ken?
Yes.
Thank you.
And well, I first want to say I can relate to what you just said about Parker. About if you did the laundry, I'm the same way. If I'm talking with somebody, if they have to leave, because most of my upbringing was no one had time for me. And that's what really made me feel worthless, made me feel not loved, not important, made me feel like a ghost, invisible. So, and it's only been the last year that if somebody were to say that, I'd be fine with it. But a year ago, I might say, okay, I'll call you back, and I wouldn't even know why I'm saying that, but that would be a pain body or something coming up that I actually need to work through. So I'm seeing how things can branch off of one another. And sometimes different feelings or different emotions have attachments to what is being said or around certain people, or if somebody says something that may remind me of something. And so I'm learning that when I have that subtle little shift inside of me, I can detect, okay, I have something coming to the surface. And I refer that to invisible splinters. It's time for the splinter. It's almost like something's communicating with me. And how to get rid of different things. I know for me, most people I know, they have to get to a point where their life in some way or form isn't working. And I'm thinking that everybody's path can be different on what really wakes them up or nudges them. I know now I can talk to Christians, I can talk to people that are doing shamanism, I can talk to people doing 12-step work or different things. And me getting to Eckhart, I did actually years and years of work before I was ready to learn certain lessons. So, and now everything escalates super fast because I'm on a spiritual path. This is where I want to spend the rest of my life, is learning and growing and understanding. But for the first thing to happen to me, I had to get to the point where I was ready to cave in. Something has to give. I can't do this anymore. So it's to ask somebody a question like that, if they're not familiar, and it may be Eckhart's work that might be the first step for them, or it may be Joe Dispenza, or it may whatever it is. So I try to tell people, if they're really distraught, and I have told literally hundreds and hundreds of people, try this. They might do it, or they'll think about it, and it might be a year before they actually do. And that's that old saying that we can't fix anybody. All we can do is share our experience, strength, and hope, and hopefully they'll end up doing something. But so.
Thank you so much, Ken.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Hers was not a pain body. It was just she believed in that philosophy that because she took Eckhart's teachings that do one thing at a time, because she slowed herself down by that method, and she wanted the others to also slow down to that method, right? Which is okay. I mean, if she gets that kind of attention, then it's okay. But it was not a pain body. It's not like her pain body was saying stop and I'll talk to you later kind of thing. It was just that she wanted everyone to follow that discipline, that do one thing at a time. What April is talking about, right? Because Eckhart says, if you're holding the toothpaste, feel the sensation of the tube of the paste first, and then feel the sensation of the brush, like holding the handle of the toothbrush, right? And then put it on your teeth. The same thing with food, he says, like, look at the sensation of, look at the feeling that you get from the food, and then put the sensation, like feel the sensation, right? So that's presence,
Right.
which is a good method, right, to slow ourselves down. So thank you, April, and thank you, Ken, for that input. Let's go to Patricia. Patricia, you want to talk about this question, and Bob and April and Ken are here if you want to talk to them. Thank you.
Hello. Yes, thank you very much. So I'm sitting here processing my presence as you're talking about it. And I'm asking myself, am I, like, the thoughts, I'm observing them. They're coming up, and am I identifying with them? Am I fishing them out somehow? It's like, no, I'm letting them pass. And whatever April is talking, that, being aware of your thinking, first thing. Then, what are you thinking about? And thoughts that would stick to me before, I just observe now, and they're passing. And they're appearing less and less. So like all of you said, it takes practice. So my advice, first of all, the fact that the questioner is asking the question, how can I get rid of the worries? That's awareness that the worries are there. So this is a huge, huge realization right there. So the question wouldn't appear if there wasn't even the slightest level of awareness. So that's a good thing, very good thing. So it's a good step. But I tried this on my own, reading books. And like Ken said, yeah, I would read it, or I would start to read it, and I would put it away. And 10 years later, I would go back to it. So if someone wants to really make a difference and do it quicker than a lifetime, it's being part of the group, like finding a group like we have here and really showing up for practice. Because in the beginning, the presence level, the awareness level is so low that we all need help. And we kind of borrowing somebody else's presence. So when I was at this level, at this point, I would be borrowing Eckhart presence by just playing his videos. Even though I would get distracted, pull away, I would like go back and forth, like, oh my God, I have to rewatch the last 5 minutes because he was just talking, but I would do it and get more and more. So it actually took repetition and just practice to train my mind to pay attention. Because like a lot of the spirituals teachers say, where your attention goes, energy flows. So if I'm paying attention to my thoughts and getting identified with them, especially these thoughts about my health, I'm gonna be feeding that energy. I'm gonna be feeding the worrying. I'm gonna be attracting some health issues, because if I'm worrying about my health, well, I guess I have a reason. The universe almost will give me something to worry about, right? Because that's what I'm doing. If I decide and put focus into, like Joe Dispenza says, new reality, starting to visualize me being healthy, running around, being full of energy, then the universe, oh, she's full of energy, so let's make it a reality almost. So that's that component of co-creating. And I know that Eckhart, when he talks in his books and his videos and his teachings, he is giving us pointers how to get to that stillness. So he said there are portals. So there's inner body, like sensations, just sitting and feeling your hands. Or like Kelly says, one of the panel members, that it's not present. I actually got really like his pointers of wiggling your toes. Like I'm sitting here listening to you and wiggling my toes. So it means that I'm anchoring myself to the present moment, because I can't wiggle my toes in the future or in the past. I mean, if I'm wiggling them, I'm here, and it's just funny, but it was a playful way. I actually use it sometimes even at work. And I'm, on the phone with the customer, I would just wiggle my toes, and that will anchor me a little more, and it brings me right back. So the second one is the sensory perceptions that he points to, noticing surroundings, what's around me. I'm sitting in my room. I see the painting on the wall, the temperature. It's like observing without any judgment, just realizing the surroundings through sensory perception, through feeling, through seeing, through hearing. What's the sounds? And that's, again, another practice. And the third pointer that Eckhart gives is the breathing. So with anxieties, though, it's very hard to sit in one spot. I had anxieties, huge anxieties, and made such a progress. What helped me was 3 things, and I couldn't do just one. I had to find a way to do all 3. So I did the meditations. I just did the meditations, but I also did yoga and elements of Qigong, because with anxieties, I needed have my body moving, because there was an energy of the anxieties, that rush, that I needed to put into a different venue, so which was the movement of my body. So I had to pay attention to either breathing with moving, physically moving my hands, my legs, like with yoga or Qigong. So the body had to pay attention to that and just let the thoughts go somewhere else. And the third thing, which was very important to me, what Poonam recommended, was the diet. And what I learned with from Anthony William, medical medium, is that anxiety, it's actually also on the level, physical level, is caused by our brain being full of heavy metals, toxins, and the neurons not being able to wire, communicate or stuff. So with having this understanding and putting all three components of meditation, physical movement, and diet, all three helped me tremendously. So maybe at sometimes a little bit the anxieties show up, but it's nowhere near the level I was a year ago. I mean, I had heart palpitation by just a thought of a future. I mean, I was like sweating. I would have like, I wanted to jump out of my skin. I couldn't even sit. And my mom said something interesting. A couple of days we were on Zoom, on WhatsApp for Christmas holidays, and she was asking about my daughter who couldn't join me because of the weather. She's with me now, but not for Christmas Eve. And my mom said, "So you don't worry about her?" And I said, "No." And she said, "What do you mean you don't worry about her? If she's your daughter?" I said, "Well, I know she's okay." It's like, why would I worry? Worry is praying for the worst outcome, like that constantly living that something's bad's gonna happen. So it's almost like you realizing you're feeding the worst case scenario and you're praying for that out. So it's gonna happen, right? It's like, and then when it happens, of course it happens, because it's like, okay, I was worrying, I was right. So this is where it's like you co-creating this. It's your wishful thinking. So there's so many components of how we can heal it and how we can approach it, but you got to start somewhere. And then everything else is starting to fall into place. But each one of us is different. So what works for you doesn't work for me, but just listening to everybody's story, what I do, I pick and choose. Like there's certain pointers from April, they were so incredible, helpful that I used. And it's almost like, it's not that I learned this. I realized I knew it. Just April needed to say, "Patricia, use this." I'm like, okay. And it immediately worked because I already knew it. It's just I had to hear it from outside somehow. And the same with Poonam, even Ken, in those mirrors. Ken, this is like your thing about talking about mirroring. And right now I'm seeing a lot of this, and that's such a helpful pointer. Yet another thing. I hope I'm not overwhelming person with information, but what also helped me a lot is when Eckhart was talking about, it's like, I'm not my body, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my feelings. It's like, who am I then? it was such liberation, realizing that I am not anything. And he has that exercise that he talks about when you put, I am a woman, I am American, I am 40 years old, I am a mother. It's like I am an employee of whatever. And then you make the entire list of I am this, I am that, I am blah, blah, blah. And then you take and wipe it off or cut it off, everything that goes after I am. And what's left is I am. And this is that beingness that we need to bring more of to this moment. So less of doing, more of being. And once we get back into more being, then we can actually enjoy doing, because there is enough being in the doing. So the doing is so much more fulfilling and makes more difference. It's not hectic. It's just very solid and creative, because then we can figure out new ways of doing stuff, because we're not that hectic in rush of everything and worrying. It's like in that chaos and noise. So this is where I think, yeah, Dr. Joe Dispenza calls it a void, right? The void, being in the void, not nothingness. And what else? Oh, as far as the body with health, one more thing. When you realize, first of all, that you're not your body, that you have that, you're that soul in it, that having this earthy experience, human experience, that's liberation. But then also your body has an intelligence. It beats its heart. It breathes, right? You don't breathe, it breathes. So you can also trust it, that it can heal itself and empower that, and just support it from what you can do. So like, stop abusing it and just give it nutrients that it needs and let it do its stuff. So, you know, it's going to be less of that, but yeah, so it's a lot of information, I know, but it wasn't just one thing for me. It was a lot of little things. So that's helpful, I hope. Thank you.
That was incredible, Patricia. Thank you so much. Because, you know, we just talk out of our spiritual experience. You talk out of your practical experience because you've been there, right? So it's
Beautiful.
the propensity of what you say is a little bit more because you've been, and we can see the difference in you in the year, last year, how you were and how steady and steadfast you speak now. Right? Before it was like,
The only thing that kept me going is the commitment to
Mhm.
showing up, no
Mm.
matter what, you know, whatever the moment brings, I need to show up. And actually my OCD helps in those things, because if I put myself, I need to show up, it's like, I'll do everything to show up. But in that case, that helped me. So instead of being a negative influence, it actually helped me, because I decided, I started to control it. I started to use it for my purpose versus it uses me, my, you know, life energy to just feed the ego.
beautiful.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
I think Louise said online practice throughout the day when we were talking about, I think when April was talking about the toothpaste, she said practice throughout the day. So
Right.
Louise,
Oh, that's a, thank you for bringing it up. thank you so much, April, for big. I did that too. It was exactly my experience. Like, this sucks. What am I paying attention to? Really? It's like my head was that it's like, no, I have to think about important things like my future or what I'm gonna say tomorrow at work. It's like, really, toothpaste and brushing my teeth? That's ridiculous. It's like, it was like this, my inner thing. And I'm like, then I'm thinking, wait a second. It's not brushing the teeth that I'm paying attention to. It's my being. So if I am aware of my being, the activity of brushing teeth become almost miraculous because I'm here in this human body using a toothbrush that was made by other people after years of invention, because, you know, people 200 years ago didn't have toothbrushes, right? Now we have ingenious little invention, which is a toothbrush and a toothpaste. It's made out of sand to clean our incredibly amazing teeth that helps us chew. And this is our, it's like when you go into it, this simple action of brushing teeth using your hand, I mean, it becomes a miracle. It actually, the simplest things become the most incredible things that we can experience.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Patricia. Grateful for all the pointers. The one thing I would say is I feel
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
I feel that when you say that you were able to see the thoughts, a lot of people that are anxious, and that is what seems to be the case with the questioner, is they cannot see their thoughts.
Right.
That little bit of awareness that is required, right? To say, I can look at that thought that is talking about, oh, like April said, right? My house is going to be on fire. There's going to be an ambulance outside. There are going to be cops all around the house,
Yeah.
right? With yellow tape around my house. I'm going to walk in and there's going to be yellow tape around my house, right? Was that right, April? That was the vision that you had every day by the time you got
But
to that
in a
certain-
sense, it comes from a grace. There is that moment of grace that you are given, that you see that you have, and that question comes from that grace too, because he says, I have it. I want to get rid of it. How do I do it?
Right.
So this is already coming from the point that you separate yourself from the worries, right? So I can actually do something about it, right? If I have the worries about my health and the tape is running, now how? What's the strategy to get rid of it?
So they're on the path. They are on the path and they're tired of it. And yeah, for my scenario, it would be different each time. It would be a different scenario, but because one of my anxieties is linked to my children. So my anxiety that I would get, I don't get anxiety about a lot of things, but the one thing I would definitely get anxiety about would be anything with my children. If they were going to die, they were going to be sick, they were going to, right? Because my children were, they were my identity, right? They were my identity. They were the reason that I was on this path. They're the reason I started my self-healing journey. They're the reason I went to school. So if they're in my house and it's burning down, I have nothing. So there's a huge backstory to that, to my anxiety, right? Just like probably with this person and their fears related to illness, which probably is a pattern that runs in their family, and or mom died from illness or dad died from illness, right? So yeah, it is much deeper than all of it, but so the anxieties have a source. There's a reason. But noticing that is the first step. And when you want to be peaceful, happy, joyful, then you start. Then like this person, they can tell that they're doing it. They're just not sure how to go about it.
And that's one of the things that I find lacking in Eckhart's teachings. Like he may give the correct pointer, like he may give the correct get to stillness or get to portals of presence, it's breath work, but there is no practice involved,
Mhm.
right? Whereas Dr. Joe Dispenza, he says the thing, right? The thinking, how you think, how you feel creates your state of being. If you're going to sit and worry about your health and you're going to be anxious about it, then your state of being will be sickly, right? So how you think, how you feel. So I feel with Dr. Joe Dispenza, there's a practical application because he gives like, okay, for this, do this type of meditation.
And it's very scientific.
Yeah.
So he
for
actually
this-
does the research to support everything that's happening. So kind of if this person needs a proof, he does work and there's testimonials of so many people. So
Yeah. Well, Eckhart is amazing. He's an intellectual, so which I love. He uses a lot of self logic with himself, like, you know, he laughs at himself,
yeah, he's funny
saying,
too, right?
right? Like he's like, this is so important, and then he laughs because it's not so important. So I think his practice is getting to the 0 point, is getting to the gap. That is his practice.
I think with him, for me, I actually for months was borrowing. I intellectually understood, but I couldn't feel it. But when I was listening to his talks on YouTube, I just felt that with his presence, even it's the recording were from 10 years ago, I can still get, into that void of presence just by listening to him.
And he says that too. He says the teacher actually demonstrates more than, yeah, he does a really good job of that. Yeah.
Right. And then I feel like we're all doing it because one person speaks and then it triggers somebody else and we're all passing it around. It's like almost like we're expanding thought and we're expanding different triggers that are helping each one of us. And what might be said might not be felt by one, but by the other. And then we talk about it. And I love that. It's like we're all just spreading the word, so to speak, and we're all opening our heart. And that to me is being in alignment to the source, to the field. And no matter what we've gone through, it's all beneficial, it's all helpful. And then we're talking about Eckhart, we're talking about Joe Dispenza, and then everybody's experience and how much Poonam has brought to us by going to Joe Dispenza. And then we'll read a book, we talk. And so Tethered Soul, that came up a couple of times, and then that sparked something else. And I'm like, it's like being in maintenance of our spiritual awakening every day. And we're just
Right. So having that
Yeah.
present practice every day, whatever it is, choose yours, but just keep doing it because that's where it's important.
I'll go around in a circle. Do you want to wish everyone Happy New Year? Because this is the last Facebook Live Q&A for this year. April, you want to
Okay.
get started?
Sure. I do wish everybody a happy new year. I, by the way, am wishing that me and my family have a better year.
Yes, yes to April. There you go.
Yes, because
To
I
you
have
and
to say,
yours.
2022 was quite difficult.
Mm.
You know, I've said this many times, just because we are spiritual teachers, leaders, whatever, that doesn't mean that we get excluded from the ebb and flow of life. And you need to just hang on in the down spots because it will go back up. I do wish the best for everybody. Stay on your journey, do what works for you. And we're going to continue the soul healing all year.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Amen. Amen.
Ken?
Yes, no, I just have so much gratitude for everyone. And I just want to say the love from my heart, hope touches the love in your heart, and we just keep passing it on to one another. And I'm just so grateful. I feel like this past year has been a huge, huge shift in my life in so many ways. And just keep accepting that the uncomfortability is just part of life. And more, I'm accepting both sides. We can't have one without the other. So, and how much you all mean to me. You've shown me love in ways that I just didn't understand. So
Beautiful.
I'm just so grateful for everybody. So
Thank you so
blessings
much,
to
Ken.
everybody. Thank you.
Thank
Bob?
you, Ken.
Yes, thank you very much. Mine's just going to be very short. I'm just here, of course, as a guest. Poonan, really appreciate with the group for inviting me here and get to see all of you and feel the energy from each one of you. And I share with you my gratitude for being here and with the energy. And I look forward to in the now for next year. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Beautiful. Patricia?
Thank you, Bob. So that was an honor for us to have you, first of all, and come more often. That's all I got to say for 23. Just, yeah, come more often because it's always the more the merrier. I think that's how it is. So I wish everybody happiness and actually realizing that we are happiness. So it's just going back to our true nature and be there as much as possible, because this is where peace is, true peace. And the word, I mean, for this year, I picked up 2 words, and that was playfulness and prosperity. Because that's what I need. I got a new job, so I wanted to, be prosperous, but I also wanted to be playful because I didn't want to be stressed out and always constricted. I want to be creative, and that's what I got. I got a prosperous and playful year. But I'm thinking about the word for this year, and that I wish everybody just choose a word that it's positive and kind of resonates, and see how that will color your year to come. And somehow for me, it's still coming up patience. Patience. Patience is a wonderful virtue. The one that I was not good at ever. I was very impatient. It's like, so the divine is like, okay, let's make the 2023 about patience. So that is my word, and I wish everybody to find their, inspirational word for the year. And yeah, just happy to have you as my friends and be present with you often, twice a week, once a week, whenever we can, because it made a tremendous difference. And yeah, show up in 2023. Show up the way you want to. Show up the way you choose to show up. And I think I want to thank April for being such a strong and incredible inspiration through everything you went through. But you still showed up with a smile on your face, ready to help others, which was incredible. And that's example that, yes, I would like to, continue to show up as such also in my life and for my friends and family. Thank you, April. And Ken, oh my God, talking about 2022, his trip, right? When he was there with the trees and experiencing himself and sharing, it was incredible. So thank you so much, Ken, for this gift. That was incredible. So how about that book in 23? I wish you, yes, to at least putting like few chapters in 23, huh? And you,
Wonderful.
Poonam, oh my God, go for another retreat. Joe Dispenza, do what you need to do because you love it. You just shine. You just like, whoo, with love to everyone. And you bring us all to healing. I mean, incredible. You're such a leader. Just continue to do this because it's what you meant to do, I think, right now.
Mm,
Thank you so much, Patricia. I would repeat what the host Nadia says during our coherence healing, remote coherence healing. She says, thank you for choosing your divinity over your humanity. Because like Patricia is saying, right, April has so many challenges, Louise has so many challenges, but everyone shows up. Lakshmi may have challenges, but they show up to the Facebook Live. Christina may have challenges, but she's here week after week. She's always, Edith has challenges. She shows up week after week. So in spite of the challenges, in spite of the humanity, we show up, right, to share our love. And that's what it is about. Like Ken said, heart to heart.
Namaste.
You know, one of the things that Dr. Joe, one of the meditations that we do, the heart blessings from the heart to each of the energy centers, in the end, he says, be relaxed in the heart and awake in the brain, right? It's about being relaxed in the heart. So if you can make that your intention, that 2023, I will be relaxed, no matter what my conditioning is, no matter how much I've been in this fight, flight mode, in this survival gene mode, the 30 years before, 40 years before, 50 years before, now I make the decision that I will be relaxed in the heart and awake in the brain.
mm.
Every moment to moment to moment, I will always be outpouring love. That's all the world needs, right? So wishing everyone a happy new year and unlimited abundance of prosperity, joy, love, and what else can we
Thank
say?
you.
Peace.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sri Lakshmi.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Ken,
Thank
April, and
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Infinite
Thank
gratitude.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. And
Love
Many
you all.
blessings.
Happy New
Much love.
Year.
Happy New Year. Bye.
Happy
Bye.
New Year to all.